Hello and welcome to the UAP Customers webinar series. This episode is on the composition of composite doors. Here we have a single leaf doors, independently moving pane of door. The single leaf door is the most common variety of door. It features a single panel that fills the entire doorway space. Double leaf doors, also known as French doors, have two panes that each open. The door that opens first is known as the master, or the active leaf, and the door that opens second is known as the slave, or the inactive leaf. In this diagram, you can see a side panel, or a side light, which is a glazed aperture to the side of the door. In these images, you can see what we would call a fan light, which is the glazed aperture above the door. So the term composite covers a large variety of products. Composite doors are exactly that, composite, which is made up of several parts or elements. Put simply, they are made from more than one material. Unlike a UPVC door, for example, they are fairly complicated sandwich of materials. Many are combined and glued under high pressure conditions using a press. Composite doors first began to appear in the UK in large numbers in the 1990s. And the first type of composite door commonly seen in the UK came from Canada, and it had steel surfaces, or what could be called skins. One manufacturer says they began making composite doors in the UK in 1996, and 1999 saw the first ever distinction door land onto British shores. At the time of the introduction of these products, the majority of doors were made from timber, aluminium, or UPVC. Many of these doors required maintenance to prolong their life or to maintain their appearance, and they were limited in the style availability. They had some issues with performance or security. Whilst real timber looks great, it is rather expensive and can warp and twist over time, needing maintenance to keep the natural beauty of the wood looking at its best. And UPVC doors were generally inexpensive, wipe clean, more draft proof and thermally efficient than timber doors. Whilst standard UPVC doors do a job, they are not necessarily the strongest material to keep out any would-be intruders. The vast majority tend to come in only one colour, white, although there are some finished with a wood grain effect. And as many householders want a door with curb appeal and timber doors tend to be fairly expensive, the wood grain effect texture of a composite door makes it look like a painted timber door with other advantages. So as you can see from this slide, many materials can be used for both the insides and the outside surface skin of the door. The inside of a composite door, the core, may contain a number of different materials. These include timber, engineered timber, composite plastics, steel, aluminium, along with various forms of insulating material like foam. The reinforcing materials contained within the door are used to prevent malicious cutting of and through the leaf. Materials such as timber and ABS are used commonly along with other materials like aluminium sheet or mesh, which could be used less often. So this is done to exploit specific properties such as mechanical strength, aesthetics, and durability. Here you can see the cross-section of a composite door, showing the pre-finished decorative facing, which is normally 2mm, the inside material, which can be LVL timber or foam filled, with a timber frame around it. At the bottom of the door, you can clearly see in this picture where the wooden rail meets the threshold. And in the first diagram here, you can see how the wood stiles is infilled with the foam or the timber. So what are the advantages of a composite door? Well, they are very attractive to look at and can enhance the overall look of the property. They come in a number of colours and finishes. That means that your door can be designed to your personal tastes and your requirements. They offer a good level of security. They are very easy and inexpensive to look after, so they require minimal maintenance, just needing a wipe over and oiling of hinges and locks periodically. They are weather resistant and durable, meaning that they do last a long time. And they have a realistic timber look with a face material designed to withstand impacts and minimize surface marks. And they are thermally efficient insulators. So what are the disadvantages? Well, they do tend to be generally more expensive than doors like UPVC doors. I would put them at maybe a mid-price range. They're not unique in appearance because some of them can look mass-produced. There are some environmental issues with a composite door. They're made with a mixture of materials and are very hard to recycle at the end of their service life currently. They can be susceptible to warping when exposed to strong sunlight and can be difficult to repair if damaged. So let's have a look at some of the components of the composite door. So the composite door, the leaf, if you like, and the frame are made up of different components, which you can see from this labelled diagram. And you can also see really how the door fits into the frame with all the names of the sections, like the heads and the hinges and the jambs. Let's look at some commonly used terms. So the door slab, which I've mentioned previously, is the door itself, sometimes known as the leaf. So rather than invest in all the equipment to manufacture door leaves themselves, many door suppliers purchase these directly from major suppliers like Distinction, Capstone, Doorco, Solidor, etc. And the door leaves that they buy for this purpose are called slabs. They may purchase them ready prepared and glazed, or they may perform that function themselves. They would add other items to them like glazing, hardware, frames and the such like to make up the entire door assembly. Generally, the majority of composite door leaves are 44mm thick. Some may be slightly thicker. And the core, which is sort of the next section on this list, is the inner components of the door slab. So that's what makes up that inside of the area. The outer frame, so that is the frame around the door perimeter where it attaches to the building structure, and that can be made of various materials. And the profile refers to the UPVC sections that make up the door outer frame. So it may mean that the manufacturer or extruder of the UPVC, for example, somebody like Uracell or Comeling. And the frames used are generally softwood, hardwood or UPVC, depending on your customer's requirements. But the vast majority of composite door frames are in UPVC. So the term welds, this is the method by which the sections are joined together to make the framework. They are usually mitered before joined by heating. And the reinforcement is a steel, aluminium or composite material contained within the UPVC profile of the frame to provide strength and rigidity. It may also refer to items contained within the door slab. So the hinge side is the side of the door on which the hinges are fitted. And the lock side is the side of the door where the lock is fitted. Care needs to be taken when taking measurements, because some people will give details viewed from inside when actually the industry norm is to take those viewing from the outside. So most composite doors are supplied as a slab of a given size. Common width sizes are 762mm, 838mm and 914mm, and the maximum height of a slab is generally around 2013mm. The door slabs have to be cut down then to the required size, and there are restrictions on how much can be cut from the width and height of a door slab without compromising the integrity of the structure. This can also place restrictions on the glazing within the door or require a change to a smaller lock back set. If the cut edges were left exposed, this can be unsightly as well as causing other issues. So many composite doors have strips added to the edge of the door to improve the appearance once they've been trimmed to size, and these are called an edge band. So some composite doors use UPVC or aluminium edging strips in place of edge banding to obscure the cut edges. Some may also utilize a similar strip on the hinge side of the door. So in this diagram, you can see labeled. So number 1 is the hinge strip that you can see running down the side there. Number 2 is a diagram pointing to the outer frame. Number 3 is pointing to the door leaf. So you can see how the composition is made up there. And number 4, you can see the timber framing structure inside the leaf, which is then filled with number 5, in this instance, the foam. So the sill also known sometimes as a stub sill, is the lip that is protruding or projecting out from the bottom of the door and in a window sometimes. And it may also be fitted underneath here, like you can see here underneath the threshold. You can see from this diagram that the sill is under a raised threshold and that the owner or customer would have to step over it to get inside and outside of the property. So this diagram shows a low threshold. So this is commonly used for people with mobility issues or mobility aids, and it reduces the level that a person would have to step over the threshold, as in the previous picture. And this is showing a drip rail. So this is also known as a rain deflector. And as it suggests, it allows the rain to run down the door and fall away from that bottom edge of the door and threshold to prevent water ingress into the property. So let's have a quick refresh the image of the door with some commonly used parts here. So you can see the head of the door is at the top, as the name suggests. It's the horizontal section at the head of the door. The jamb, as you can see, there are several jambs in this picture, but the sections at the side or vertical parts of the door. Then you can see some mullions, which is sections between the glazed areas or the panels, and then the sill at the bottom of the door, which we talked about, is often protruding. So we'll just finish up this particular section with a few terms around glass that you may find in the door. So a sealed unit consists of two panes of glass separated by some sort of spacer and then hermetically sealed, dependent on the type of spacer bar used. And it is filled with a product called desiccant, which is a molecular sieve, very similar to the little silica gels that you find in tiny bags and shoe boxes, etc. And the purpose of this desiccant is to absorb any moisture in the cavity of the sealed unit after it's sealed. This is a glazing cassette, and this is the framework that holds the glazing within the door leaf once an aperture has been cut into the door slab. So they may clip together, be screwed together. They may also utilize glazing tape, sealants, adhesives to adhere them to the door leaf. Some glazing cassettes can be reglazed, and some are integral within the door leaf, and some are bonded to the door. And those, if damaged, may necessitate a replacement of the entire door leaf. So here you can see that sealed unit between a glazing cassette and encapsulated in there. And that brings us to the end of this particular series. Thank you for listening to part 1 of the series of webinars on composite doors and the products that UAP sells for this type of external door.